Okay, I'm recording. Welcome, everybody. This is going to be the first of many conversations we're having with IT tech leaders in the industry. We're calling it Rebel Conversations. And our first person that we've invited to be part of the conversations is Genevieve Mannel. She's head of IT at Cipla. And just some background, obviously, we thought as an organization, Girls in Tech South Africa, that we really want to have a conversation about the strong people that we've got in our industry. We want them to tell their stories. We think it's inspirational. We think it can help so many people to also just be inspired actually to follow the same kind of career path, or just be inspired to be strong people in our country as well. So welcome, Genevieve. And then we've also got Claire Gibson on the line. She's our Business Development Director for Girls in Tech South Africa. And to take it away, I think we've got a couple of questions for Genevieve just to find out what she's all about. Claire.
Thank you. We do indeed, Morris. Thank you. So welcome, Jen, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So I think you have had a really exciting career in the IT industry and now head of IT at Cipla. So maybe you can share with us what actually inspired you to choose IT, and maybe tell us a bit about your journey.
I think it's quite fitting that this is almost, we want to talk about rebels, because I started with financial management and marketing. And I think I was a rebel in that IT chose me, because it wasn't my first choice as a career. And so I started with financial management and marketing, and I spent quite a bit of my career at Metropolitan. Started as a letter opener while I was still studying, but I was the best letter opener ever. So somehow they managed to see potential, I guess. And I got onto a project where we merged customers, where Metropolitan merged with then Union Life. And I just thought it was fascinating that you were able to combine different sets of data and you will have one record of a customer. And that's where it grew. Obviously, through the years, my love for data then just grew more and more. And I ended up looking after business intelligence at Metropolitan much later on in my career. And, I did quite a bit of analysis, worked with quite a few of the actuaries, and I was really passionate and amazed at how data allowed business to make really great have really great conversations. So after that, I went to a small consulting company, a consulting house, and then I had a stint at TFG as well, where I looked after business intelligence as well as enterprise knowledge management. And now I find myself as the head of IT for Cipla Africa, which in itself is a really exciting journey. So yeah, that has been quite an interesting journey.
Maybe I should unmute. So yes, that is a very exciting journey and absolutely a very colorful one. So what do you think, in your opinion, has been the biggest factor in terms of your success?
Yeah. So, I remember this one day, I don't know why, but it's something that's etched in my memory. I was 13 years old and I was having a conversation with my mother about going to study. And I come from very humble beginnings. And, from a financial point of view, we didn't have, just the ability to have money for whatever we wanted to. So I think a lot of that was the driving force initially. Making sure that I was in a position that when my daughter or my son came to me, that I would be in a position to give them whatever funding they needed to follow their dreams. But as I grew in my career and as I grew just in the work that I was doing, my driving force changed. I started seeing how technology is an enabler and how data is an enabler, and that started being the driving force. I think with my role in just the industry at the moment, I didn't think that I would have a voice and that the influence that I have is something that I need to actually be very thankful for. So right now, my driving force for the success is so that someone who grew up in the same type of environment or has the same type of background that I have, that they can go, oh, okay, that's someone who looks like me, who's got a background that I had, and who's actually made it out of, the environment that we have. That said, though, I don't think I would have been where I am without my childhood and without my environment. So I'm very thankful for the life that I had growing up. Good. Unmute.
Morris, need to unmute.
You do. Thanks, Jen. You do a lot of community work in Cape Town as well, inspiring young girls to pursue a career in IT. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I come from Mitchell's Plain, so I'm actually Jenny from the block. And one of the things that concerns me, just as an IT leader at the moment, is that there isn't a lot of women in this industry. And it's been something that's been spoken about quite often, quite regularly. And what I've started seeing, because I do a lot of talks at high schools, particularly to your grade 11s and grade 12s, talking to them about just how exciting the IT world is and how much we can actually change in South Africa and in Africa. So when I started doing these talks, I remember when I was still at Metropolitan, I did a talk, and this could be about 10 years, no, not 10 years, this could be about, 10 years ago. And after the talk, one of the girls came outside, and back then, in some communities, you know, material possessions is almost a way that people see that you are doing well for yourself. And I remember this one girl came to me and she was like, "What kind of car do you drive?" And I mean, back then I still had this black BMW. I mean, I know it's so, you know, stereotypical. And she came and she's like, "I can't believe you're driving a BMW." And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "So I'll be able to drive a BMW one day." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then she asked me, "But what do you actually do?" And as I was explaining to her, her mouth like dropped, because she said there's no way that she thought that she could do that. And that was the narrative that I wanted to change, because I was one of those girls. And although I didn't have that type of person come to the school and speak to me about it, I do think that there was something, a switch that went off in that girl's head that day. And I mean, I met up with her much later. I actually didn't even recognize her. I met up with her and she was doing so well for herself. She's not in IT, she's in finance, but she completed her degree and she says she will never forget the day that she met me. And to me, those are the type of things, those are the stories that you want to start sharing, because you want to create that hope to people who sometimes feel hopeless. They want to see someone who looks like them and has the life that they had actually make something of themselves. So yeah, that's the exciting part of what I'm doing and what I want to continue doing.
Awesome.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question, because obviously we as girls in tech, and why we're starting this kind of rebel stories is because we really want to tell these stories, and we think there's really power and value in sharing more stories. Actually, and I don't think enough girls and even boys actually hear enough of these positive stories and can try to relate and inspire to some of these stories as well. In terms of girls in tech, what excites you most? We've used you and we've engaged with you a little bit as part of our advisory board, but what excites you the most about girls in tech finally launching into Africa now?
Yeah, so I mean, over the last few years, there's been quite a bit of initiatives, and I think particularly in Cape Town, you know, with the entrepreneurial space, there's a lot of activity in how we can get young girls particularly into the tech scene. What I love and what I've been seeing about girls in tech and all the chapters around the world is that the focus is not just around technology. The focus, I think, is more around creating that holistic type of, you know, I want to grow presence of women in leadership, in tech, in life. It's really, what did our Miss Universe say? We need to take up space. And, you know, when I think back just to my role and all the roles that I've had where I interview for different positions in my job, you know, 1 out of 5 people, if even that, are women. And, you know, it concerns me because it feels like that we are not moving the needle. So we need to really make our efforts a lot more broader than just technology. We need to make sure that women are comfortable and confident in their, you know, the space that they need to take up. And I'm glad you mentioned, you know, boys as well, because one thing is very important. This isn't, you know, we were against men or anything like that. Because if I think about my career, the reason and the mentor in my life, the reason for my success has been a male. You know, it's someone that took a chance on me and he gave me the opportunities. And I think we need to create those opportunities for all our youth, but we obviously want to see a lot more females in the space, because females have a different approach of dealing with things, and they've got a lot to offer. You know, and that's what excites me about Girls in Tech. And that's, I think, the direction that we should all be moving to.
Great answer. Thanks, Jen. So I think if we think about the year 2020, we automatically think about COVID-19 and the pandemic, and it's how it's been completely unprecedented in terms of its impact. So maybe you could share with us some of the challenges and the opportunities that it's brought to you in your workspace at the moment, or in your current working environment.
Yeah, so I think IT leaders around the world are, I mean, it's a horrible situation. You know, the world is really in a really difficult position. But if you look at just every IT leader around the world and the initiatives that they've been trying to implement in terms of just digitizing the workplace and in making the remote working capabilities that much more reachable for companies, you know, COVID has literally had us switch over to a remote workspace without business pushing back in a space of 4 weeks. You know, so I am extremely excited, you know, with what it's forcing us to do. There's one thing I think that everyone is acknowledging at the moment. For one, humans are extremely resilient, you know, so previously we've been pushing back because we're scared. You know, we've been pushing back because it was unknown. But when we were faced with a situation where we don't have a choice, you have to work remote, you have to make this work. You know, these are the times that IT leaders can really stand up and go, you know what, this is how I can support you. Let me show you how we can be an enabler to business. You know, so I'm hoping that IT leaders across the globe are seeing this as a huge opportunity, that we can make the business world actually understand how much value the IT industry can play in the daily operations. We will become a lot more efficient as businesses. I think we will start moving to a lot more nomad working space, and there will be efficiencies raised in businesses, because you don't have to buy these buildings with lots of office spaces. There'll be a lot more hot desking around. You know, people will be a lot more flexible in terms of what they're expecting from people. I think the work balance and the fact that people will be spending a lot more time with their families is also something that's also positive out of this situation. So I am extremely excited. I think the next few months we are going to see some really amazing changes, and we are going to see business particularly partnering with IT a lot more.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, completely off topic, I guess, but I'm just really excited about the impact on the environment as well. It's just amazing that all of a sudden climate change conversations have disappeared to a certain extent, because you can already see the impact that the fact that people are just not commuting as much and actually staying home and actually not actually polluting anymore, whatever. It's amazing what it's done for our environment in such a short period. It's been a bit of a wake-up call as well.
And yeah.
No, sorry, you wanted to say?
No, I was just saying, it's something that I think our world needed. You know, we've got, you know, technology. People are very, very scared of technology. And, you know, people think we're going to have robots taking over the world, etc., etc. But like anything in the world, if put in the wrong hands, it will be used in the incorrect way. But if the understanding around technology is there and how it can actually add value to the human life, to our globe, to the climate, you know, I think the world will just be a lot better. So there's been a lot of positives around that. And I think it's just something that we just need to leverage and we need to take advantage of while we're in this, you know, uncharted territory.
Absolutely. I mean, it's obviously very sad, and it's to think about the people that are losing their lives, but it almost feels like we've been given a second chance. You know,
Yeah.
There's a bit of a reset and say, listen, this is your last chance. Try and get it right. You know, but it's definitely been a lot of food for thought. Just a last question, Jen. Is like, knowing what you know today, What advice would you give your younger teenage self? Work-related, maybe, or
Oh my
just in
gosh.
general?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, because I actually do my talk at the high schools is a letter to my 17-year-old self, and that covers many things. But work-related, work-related, I have to say I would take more risks. Coming into, I was very young when I was an executive, and when you're that young, you're very scared about making decisions, putting your hand up, taking risks. And I feared making a mistake because I thought I was young, I was inexperienced, and I thought, I'm so lucky to be in this position. Don't say anything to upset anyone. And that's one of the things that I definitely think I would do over differently, because mistakes are part of success. And I think people start seeing mistakes as the opposite of it, and it's not. With your mistakes, that's actually your stepping stone into success. So I'll definitely take more risks. But if I fail fast, fail quickly, and move on.
So what you're saying is be a bit more of a rebel.
Be more of a rebel.
rebel.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Be authentic, make the decisions, and if it's a mistake, learn from it.
Awesome, awesome. Jen, thank you so much for your time and telling your story. We would love sharing it with our community and with everybody that wants to listen. You've been an inspiration to many people already. I know it for personally myself as well, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Thank
Jen.
you so much for the opportunity, and all the best. It's going to be an amazing journey with you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, guys.